What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna be working on the go-kart today. And in this video, the game plan is gonna be to get that motor mounted to the frame. Now there's a couple things I have to keep in mind. I'm gonna have all these steerage linkages I'm gonna have to look out for, and I'm gonna have to make sure that it's centered up on that body. That way it sticks out of that hood perfectly. Currently this motor is attached to the fuel pump and the whole pedal assembly. So I just have this one throttle cable that I'm gonna be disconnecting, and then there's also two fuel lines. So I'm gonna get those off, and that'll just make this thing easier to move around, and we'll be able to get it fitted up. All the cables and hoses are disconnected from the engine. I'm gonna throw the body onto the frame, and then we'll start cutting out that engine bay, and we'll be able to see where we need to put that engine. Well, I forgot, but I got the caliper in here, so I have some trimming to do before we work on the engine. So I'm gonna get this all trimmed up, then we'll move to the front. All right, took care of all the interference issues back there. So now we can flip up this hood and start cutting this out. Now I am gonna be trimming that hood around the engine, trying to make it real clean, but I have no idea where that's gonna go yet. So I'm just gonna do some rough cuts on the inside here, and that'll just give us kind of an idea of where we need to mount that engine. Ran into a tricky situation here. I was hoping not to have to cut out this cross member. It's really providing a lot of strength to the body, and it's what the windshield mounts to. So you can see that there's 4 holes here that actually get screws, and that's where the windshield attaches. But that engine is gonna have to sit pretty far back, and that hood actually sits all the way back here. So I am gonna have to cut out a good bit of this, and then I'll probably just have to make some other mount out of metal that this windshield can attach to. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. I marked out where I'm gonna be making my cuts. I did leave 2 of these little posts here where the screws go into. Hopefully that'll help hold that windshield. Maybe we'll just have to support it in the middle. But I think this will give me plenty of room to at least get that engine in here and see what we're working with. Everything is finally cut out. I just threw a block of wood in here and threw that engine plate. I'm gonna get that engine in here and we'll see how it looks. Dang guys, so look at that. This thing is starting to look pretty darn good. So I do want this engine to sit a little more forward, but you can see this little switch here is hitting the plastic. So I'm just gonna trim this one little area right around here, and then that should let this engine sit a little more forward. And here's where that windshield mount's gonna be. So I have a feeling that our carburetor and air filter, we're gonna have to notch the window to get that in. So this engine actually slid up a decent, like 2 inches, I'd say. This switch is pretty close to this edge here, but now we got a couple clearance issues. We got like a couple of these corners I wanna take care of. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and then we'll try to figure out how we're gonna mount this thing. A lot of people, when they do these builds, they're using dirt bike engines. They just are built a lot more vertically. That's just how they sit in a dirt bike. So your cylinder sits kind of on top of the engine, whereas this came out of a go-kart. This is a Honda GX270. So the cylinder sits back behind the engine. Now that just means we have a little bit less room back here, but that cylinder's kind of tucked up out of the way, so we shouldn't have any problem with our steering linkages. So currently this engine's just sitting on top of this mount. None of these holes are lined up. So I'm gonna be pulling this engine back out of the car, and then I'm gonna bolt on this plate, put the engine back in, and that should tell me exactly where that plate needs to go so I can get that welded in. Now I have this engine slammed as far forward as I can get it. This engine, you can see it's hitting this fin down in here. There's also a fin down in there it's hitting. That's not an issue, I can trim all that. Take you underneath the beast right now, and here's that motor mount. So the reason I had to push it so far forward, it's about a 1/4 inch more than I would like it, is because of this bolt. So the 2 forward bolts I have to access with a socket, and in order to get that socket on there, that engine just has to sit a hair more. Otherwise I'd have to modify this whole frame. Don't think I want to do that. If I have to, I will, but for now, I think it's where it's gonna be. And since I got everything all lined up where I want it, I'm gonna be taking the body off. The engine is gonna stay put, and then I'll be able to kind of figure out what I'm gonna do with that whole situation down there. I'm definitely gonna have to make a mount for the back where I got that piece of wood. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm gonna need you guys to go ahead and use your imagination, like really use your imagination. But I went through the scrap pile and I found this piece here, and I think this will make the perfect mount for this motor. And actually it's off the motor anyway, so kind of fits. But I'm thinking, bam, we're gonna cut it, notch it, and try to get it in right there, and then we'll be able to weld this bracket onto this. One more thing before I get into cutting, this engine does not sit perfectly centered on this plate. This side here is a lot shorter than this side. You can see that there's a lot more distance between that bolt and the edge as opposed to this bolt and the edge. So I'm gonna be ripping this the whole way down. You can see where I kind of marked it. And also it has this little support plate. I am gonna leave this support plate on, but I want this plate here to sit flat on the frame. So I'm gonna be cutting it here. And on the back side, you can see I'm gonna slit it here, and I'm gonna cut a little section of this plate out. That way this whole mount will sit flush. So I'll probably start working on this first, get this all dialed in, then we'll deal with that back mount, because that way we'll know exactly where all that needs to go. I got a lot of work to do, so I'm just gonna get right into cutting, but for you guys, it's just gonna be a couple minutes. Enjoy the montage. All right, our motor mount is tacked into place. I am gonna have to cut this top plate out. I did not clean up the bottom or anything. I just tacked it in simply to fit everything up. Now this tube here was extremely hard to make all these cuts, but I think I did an all right job. You can see those gaps look pretty decent. Now, since this tube is bigger than this one, I had to do something funny on the back side, so I'm gonna flip the cart over and show you what I had to do there. This bent part here actually came up and it would have given me a gap in between the tube and the frame. I did not want that, so I cut both of these ends flush, and I have this piece of 14 gauge steel. I'm gonna cut out that exact shape, and I'm just gonna basically cap off that tube using this plate. Since this tube is exactly where I want it, I'm gonna be tacking it in better, and then I'm gonna cut this plate into these shapes here and get these little plates, these little caps tacked in as well. There's our caps, they're tacked in, looking pretty good. So now I can flip this over and cut this plate out. So I got my plate all cleaned up. I got these two little notches that used to be the holes in the plate, but I cut it right through the hole. So I'm gonna get those filled in with weld, make that nice and flat. It'll just look better. I'm also gonna fill in these spot welds and complete half of this weld, because once that plate sits on there, I won't be able to access any of that. All right, and there we have it. This thing is in its permanent spot, I hope, and we can see that it is perfectly level with the rest of the cart. Here's a little look at this thing. Not too shabby. All right, now I have a massive mess over there. The floor's trash, so I need to get all that cleaned up. Then I'm gonna be putting that motor onto the mount and the body onto the car, and we'll see how it looks. I'm so glad to see that this engine does still fit in here very nicely. I was a little worried that once we got everything tacked in, that was gonna move around, but looks pretty good. Now if we come to the back here, we can see that support we made and that motor mount. Everything looks nice and straight. We have all our same clearances that we had when we mocked it up, so looking good. Now I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna get all the steering components and the pedals in here, but that's for another video. The next video, I'm gonna be tackling the steering, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you guys have been enjoying this build series, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I will see you on the next one.